There is a lake in the mountains of Korea that no one is allowed to drain, not because of a law, not because of any government order. The people of the valley simply refuse, and have refused generation after generation for more than 300 years. Engineers have offered. During a drought in the 1960s, the regional authority proposed draining the lake to study the water table. The villagers blocked it. In the 1990s, a development company offered to drain it, restore what lay beneath, and turn it into a heritage site. The village refused again, unanimously and without explanation. Because at the bottom of that lake, perfectly preserved in the cold still water, is a palace. And the people of the valley believe it must never be brought back into the air. The palace was built in the early 1600s by a nobleman whose name the village still knows, though they rarely say it aloud. He was a scholar and an official, wealthy enough to construct a private residence of remarkable beauty on the floor of the valley. Wooden halls, tiled roofs, a central courtyard, all arranged according to the principles of the time. For nearly 20 years, he lived there with his household. The valley was dry then. There was no lake. The lake came later, and it did not come by accident. This is the part the records are clear about, even when everything else is uncertain. The nobleman drowned his own palace. In the last years of his life, he organized an enormous undertaking. He had laborers build an earthwork dam across the natural stream at the mouth of the valley. Slowly, deliberately, over many months, he allowed the water to rise, to creep up the walls of his beautiful palace, fill its halls, cover its roofs, until the entire structure vanished beneath a new lake of his own making. He did not do this in grief or madness. The work was careful, engineered, expensive. He paid for it himself. He supervised it personally. And when it was done, when his palace was gone beneath the water, he is said to have stood at the edge of the new lake and given a single instruction to the people of the valley. That instruction is the reason the lake has never been drained. What did he tell them? The exact words are not recorded, but their meaning has passed down through the valley for 3 centuries, repeated by each generation to the next, and it amounts to this. The palace was put under the water on purpose. It must stay under the water. Whoever raises it again will undo the only thing that ever kept the valley safe. Safe from what? The nobleman never said. Or if he said, it was not written down. The villagers who refuse to drain the lake today cannot tell you what they are protecting against. They know only that their ancestors were warned, that the warning was serious, and that no one in 300 years has been willing to be the one who tests it. For most of those 3 centuries, this was simply a local story, a superstition, a village with an odd tradition about a lake, until a researcher going through provincial archives in the 2000s found something that made the story far harder to dismiss. A document written in the nobleman's own time by an official who had visited the valley shortly after the palace was drowned. A report filed with the provincial government describing what he had seen and what he had been told. And in part 2, I am going to read you what that official wrote. Because his report does not describe a grieving man or a madman or a superstition. It describes a decision, a deliberate, reasoned decision made by an intelligent man to put his own home beneath a lake and command that it stay there forever. And the reason he gave is not what anyone expects. The official's report sat in a provincial archive for 300 years before anyone connected it to the drowned palace. It is brief, barely 2 pages, written in the dry, formal style of a government record. The official had come to assess a tax matter, and he mentions the lake almost in passing. But what he recorded changed how the whole story is understood. He met the nobleman, by then an old man, at the edge of the lake, and he asked him directly, why would a man spend a fortune to drown the home he spent a fortune to build? The answer is preserved in the report, almost word for word. He did not speak of treasure. He did not speak of anything buried beneath the palace. He spoke of the palace itself. The nobleman said his home had been built wrong, not poorly, wrong, the way the central hall faced, the angle where the structure met the mountain behind it. It violated a principle so old and so serious that, in his words, no house built this way should be allowed to stand. He had not known when he built it. The error was invisible to the eye. It was only years later, when a visiting scholar traced the layout, that the old man understood what he was living inside. A structure that, by everything his tradition held sacred, should never have existed at all. He had built a beautiful, perfect, forbidden thing, and he had been sleeping inside it for years, and here was the trap he was in. He could not keep it. To live in it, to pass it to his children, was to let the wrong thing stand forever. But he could not tear it down either. In his tradition, to violently destroy such a structure did not erase the error. It released it. A forbidden building, ripped apart, scatters what is wrong with it across everything nearby. So he was caught between two things he could not do. He could not let it stand. He could not pull it down. And then he found the third way. Water. A drowned building is not destroyed. It is held. Suspended, whole, motionless, under a weight of still water where nothing can move and nothing can change. The palace would remain exactly as it was, unbroken, untouched, and completely silent. Not standing, not demolished. Held forever, in the only place a thing can be neither. So he drowned it, and he told the villagers the single rule that has outlived him by 3 centuries. The water must never come off, because to lift the palace back into the air is to let a forbidden thing exist again. The official ended his report with one line he seemed to struggle to write. He had come expecting a grieving man, or a madman. He found neither, only a man who had seen a problem no one else would notice, and solved it the only way his world allowed. The official could not say if he was right, only that he was not confused. He knew exactly what he was doing. The researcher who found the report located the valley. The lake is still there. The palace is still beneath it, whole, intact, suspended in the cold water, exactly as the old man intended, and the villagers still refused to drain it. When the researcher explained the document, that the palace was not hiding a treasure, but was itself the thing that had to be kept still, the villagers were not surprised. Their tradition had always said it in simpler words. The house down there is wrong, and the water keeps it quiet. For 300 years, an entire valley has guarded not a secret in the earth, but a building suspended in water, kept whole so it would never have to be destroyed, kept drowned so it would never be allowed to stand. The old man found the one place a thing can exist without existing, and he put his own home there, on purpose, forever. So I will leave you with the question the whole valley has answered the same way for 3 centuries. If you built something with your own hands, and then learned it should never have been built, would you destroy it and risk what destruction releases? Or would you do what he did, keep it whole, keep it still, and never let it rise? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. Some men drown their past to hide it. This man drowned his palace to hold it. Perfectly, permanently, in the only place where a thing can be neither built nor unbuilt. If you want to know about the palace whose every clock was removed by royal order, every clock in every room carried out and forbidden, that story is coming next. Subscribe, and I will see you there.